It's time.
All right, here we go.
The Cocktail Show.
Get ready to have a good time.
Let's have a good time.
This is exciting, isn't it?
Oh, I like that.
Hello, testing.
Welcome aboard the Dreamliner.
It's the only way to fly.
Wow.
I've allotted 1 hour for recreational activity. There's no time for irrelevant conversation. Fun will now commence.
Cocktail Show.
Gary.
Here's a young speaker who is really in demand.
Don't let that go to your head, Gary.
But wait, there's more.
I'm the guy. Finger gun.
Gary Myers.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And now, the Gary Myers Show. Cocktail Hour, live.
Cocktails. Woo, drinks.
We're streaming live at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 Central.
On Friday, November 22nd, 2024. Exclusively on the GarrForceLIVE YouTube channel. And of course, no matter where you are, it's time for a digital mimosa. With Thanksgiving coming up next week, are you heading across the river? Or maybe through the woods? Wherever you'll be, have a happy Thanksgiving, GarrForce. We're so thankful that so many of you have already subscribed. But for those that haven't, remember, the only way to stream the show live is
The GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
YouTube. Subscribe to the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
All of the past editions of the Cocktail Hour can be replayed on the GarrForce Live YouTube channel.
please like and share the show on all the social media channels.
Comments during the live show, wherever we are streaming, can be seen in our virtual studio.
And we may show them on the screen
and or talk about them.
That's good.
Yeah.
Disappeared.
Thank you for your attention.
Now, fasten your seatbelts. It's time to go wheels up on the GarrForce Live.
Live.
Here we go. On America's podcast. Boom. Shakalaka. Thank you, Todd Pickering. Finger guns. Todd is the Puerto Rican doorbell of the program. When he says live, we gather because we need to gather. I don't want to do this. I need to do this. Otherwise, I'll tip over. And I know you could have gone to see Gladiator 2 or Wicked tonight, but you didn't. You're here. Thank you. And we're going to get witchy. We're going to do the devil's business. It's okay. But what I got to do is kick the tires and light the fires. Okay, there's the there's the lighting of the tires. One more sequence has to happen. Ms. Leslie has to remove the cat from her lap and the condom from her bottle.
Got the cat off already and can't wait to take the condom off that bottle. Look at that. Look
at that's going to pop.
Woo-hoo.
That's got buoyancy. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Wow.
Oh, line drive.
I didn't even see it.
And then it hit me in the lap. Ow.
Yes. Wow. Ricochet.
Glad the cat wasn't there. That could have been dangerous.
Right. You took it off your lap. That's what you got to do. Rick O'Shea was my radio name. And what are you drinking?
I've got just a classic Clos du Bois Chardonnay. But I think it was on sale for like $8.99 at Benny's. So you get.
All
By
right.
the way, Benny's, anytime you want to start.
I mean, we'll give you the heroin for free for a while, but then come on, how about paying for it?
There you go. Oh, that's nice.
That Manhattan is so good.
Woo! We were talking about your ice cube adventure before the show began. You didn't take that plastic.
I forgot I put it. Okay, if you didn't hear was that the tea show? I forget where we said some of this stuff.
Oh no.
I saw this hack where somebody took a large sandwich bag and filled it halfway with water and then froze it and then took a hammer and made a bunch of ice cuber things like
slivers.
It's just ice. Because I'm always in need of ice and we can't keep it in the tray fast enough for me. So I put the bag of water in the freezer, but then I forgot about it today. And I'm going to, after the show, after I get done going out to the backyard, sitting on the rock, taking my shoes off and crying, I'll come back in and then I'll make ice. Nice.
Be nice, make ice.
All right. How was your day?
Pretty good. As a matter of, you know what I did? I stopped into Blue Village Vinyl in Westmont, Illinois. It's a cool little vinyl record shop. They have new and used stuff there, some collectibles, and Andy was last week's winner. So in an effort to save postage, I dropped off that with Andy. And he says he usually listens to the show a little later because he's got the shop open. He's got to pay attention. But he gave me a heads up about this Black Friday sale that they're having. Guess what? On Black Friday. Crazy. 10% off all used inventory. They're going to have live Electric Blues by Mike Wheeler. There's going to be a book signing. So yeah, if you can stop by Blue Village Vinyl in Westmont, it's a nice little shop, and they endorse the show.
As we have said for many years, Black Friday matters.
Yes.
And Alan did the, hey, have a nice Thanksgiving at the beginning. And that is that one day where white meat and black meat can be side by side and everything is getting along, Murray. So that's good. Let's go to the screen door. What do you say?
We should.
Let's see who's here. Is this right? That's right.
It is.
It
Yes,
is right.
it is.
All right. We want to start with Keely Ann. My Schnauzer and I are thankful for the GarrForce and their supporters and listeners. Keely Ann, we love you. You are at the top of the chat section, comment section every week with something nice about the Schnauzer. We
Love
hope
you. Love your Schnauzer.
We hope you and your Schnauzer have the best tea giving ever. And Brian Sheridan from the house band, Oh Yes. Acoustic tonight at Peggy, how do you say that last name?
Cananes.
In Arlington Heights, Illinois. That's an
We'll be giving away an Oh Yes t-shirt later on in the show.
All right. Well, if you're in that area,
Oh Yes swag.
8 p.m. at Peggy's. They're great. Martin, British Columbia, he's here every week. Good to see you, Martin. And David, I'll be thankful for turkey dinner and the time to play with my Schnauzer. He's from Oakland, Illinois. Yeah, okay. Be grateful for that Schnauz. David, greetings from Venice, Florida. Today, our downed trees got hauled away by FEMA.
Oh.
Government at work.
There you go. How many
weeks? Paid for it.
Yeah.
Alan, what's the temp in Orlando?
59 degrees.
5-9er?
5-9er. Beautiful
You're
day.
in heaven, right?
Oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And as you know, I was up in South Carolina at Hilton Head this week, and yesterday morning before I drove back, it was 42.
Oh, okay. And the top of the
country. Do you still have a coat, Alan?
Yeah, didn't I tell you I have two now? Because when I was going to Alaska on vacation a couple of years ago, leaving Orlando when it was 90 degrees, I beeped when I went through TSA, so I had to put more stuff in the tray and go through again. And I left my winter coat with TSA and got up to Chicago before my connecting flight up to Vancouver and had to buy a new winter coat in Chicago to go to Alaska. And when I came home, TSA had my winter coat, and I eventually picked it up. And so now I have another.
Oh, I thought you said you were going to take the other one back.
No.
Get your money back.
You're not that kind of guy.
No.
Okay. Samantha is here almost every week. We love seeing her.
With her mocktail. Yum.
And Bradley from Scottsdale, AZ. And not a cloud in the sky. And the temperature is a beautiful 78. I was just saying there a few minutes ago, the top of the country has what they call a wintry mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you watched that Pittsburgh-Cleveland game last night, and the snow's coming down in Cleveland, and I'm thinking, this is why you have to have a dome on your stadium if you're having employment of multi-million-dollar players, and you're letting them go out basically on an ice rink that could really permanently screw them up. And, oh, this is football weather.
Yeah, our wintry mix on the screen is much better, don't you think?
It is. And
looks like something our friend Dieter Sturm would whip up.
I want to get
By
Dieter
the way,
on.
we're going to have to get Dieter on.
Yeah,
the
before the Christmas holiday, because Dieter makes snow for movies and TV shows, and He also does other special effects that you and I were looking at last night. It's really good stuff. Kathleen, hello. Happy Thanksgiving. Robert, the good evening. What is that? This seems to be cloudy today. I don't know. I got some cloud on the screen.
We're going to have to get you some invisible screening. They make that, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Gary needs some compressed air to clean out those little slits in the.
I got to power wash the door. Okay. Happy Friday from Mark. Hey, Mark. Kevin, Northwest Indiana, checking in. And Sandy Lee, Michigan, backwoods. Every time I hear the tree time jingle, I sing along and make raspberries. Like the
ChristmasTreeTime.com.
And I'm going to talk to Lori Kane, the owner of Tree Time, a little later.
ChristmasTreeTime.com.
Yes. All right. Yes,
because it's like a drinking game. Every time you say it, every time you say tree time.
Everything Christmas.
All right.
TreeTime.com.
Alan, twist my liver.
Everything Christmas. TreeTime.com.
All right. Who else is here? Good to see the regulars. Greg, let's all show how grateful we are for having Gary and Leslie in our lives by hitting that like button. Hey, thank you, man.
Please
We
do.
love you. You're our reason for being.
And if you could come back to the show when it's a replay and hit that like button again, that helps the show even more.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Because all those likes are the ones that the algorithm looks at to push the show out some more.
All right.
So come on and add comments after we're off the air, and come on and make those likes, because YouTube likes to use those to circulate us more.
And with that, now that you're going to be meeting with family over the holidays, why not turn them on to the podcast? And that way we get new audience. And if they tell two people and they tell two people, oh my gosh, just imagine.
And maybe in 4 years, I'll get a presidential candidate to come on the show. Yeah, that's what I'll do.
That's it.
That's what I'll do.
What, 4 hours?
Yeah,
Not
whatever.
3, 4, damn it.
I will anoint them. Yeah. Right now, I'm working on getting Pascal from the Golden Bachelorette on it. I'm pretty excited about that.
Mind you, he's kind of given up on John Hinckley.
John has not returned my emails, and I need to talk to him because he thinks he's just going to be remembered for his music. And I have a news flash, among other news flashes I'm sure he's seen. No. Man, this is creepy. Okay, now that triggers something. In the pre-show, I said to the assembled, hey, y'all remember what you were doing 61 years ago today? And everybody looked at me, no, because I wasn't alive.
That's right. I wasn't alive.
You weren't, right? Okay.
No. I read about it in a history book once.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I remember because I was alive, and it was when Kennedy got shot, and the whole day starts to unspool from the moment I first heard that he was. And here's what I heard: I'm in my Catholic grammar school, and we're going to an assembly that was already arranged, and a nun comes whooshing down the middle of the hallway. The president's been assassinated, and I'm thinking, does that mean dead?
Back then, they didn't protect children. They didn't bring in social workers or anything. It's just, the president's dead. Hey, life as you know it has been upended. Have a good day, kids.
I'm still forming body parts and things and body hair. I can't digest this. And so then they pulled us all into the church, and we prayed, and then went back to our classroom, and then they announced that he was dead. And I'll never forget this. I had my history book on my desk, so I opened it up, and I still have it, and I wrote in there, today, the president, John F. Kennedy, was killed, and I put the time and everything down as I'm sitting there.
As a former Catholic schoolgirl, You wrote in the book? What the F
I
is
know.
wrong with you? You never write in the book.
I
That
know.
thing has to be sold to the kids in the next grade. Oh, gosh.
I know.
Never
Okay.
write in the margins.
Okay. Let's go through a few more. We got Tundra Blitz and Mill Rat. Premature greetings from a cold, dark, and snowy Indianapolis. I need a heater for my bloodstream. Yeah, it's turned on a dime in a large part of the country. We were getting along pretty well, and then Mother Nature, she's a prankster. Norm from Chemung, Harvard, northwest corner of McHenry County, a mile from the Cheddar Curtain.
Speaking of said Cheddar Curtain, Ryan, our reporter from Wisconsin, will be with us later on in the show.
Oh, yes. He's standing by as always. And Wheatfield, Indiana, Dale's checking in. All right. And Bananarama, Hudson.
Or Banana Man, either way.
Bananarama, it's a banana. Okay. Karen, I see up here. Fifth grade, Our Lady of Grace, and the only time I heard a nun cry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was, and here, they say to this day, it's still, the tale of it is still kind of going through. It's still unsolved in our minds, or something's amiss.
So what you're essentially saying that is in 30 years, people will be hearing about the pandemic and the ripple effects that are
still be going through. Yeah.
There's something to look forward to. Hey, I'm going to drink.
I see Ro and Patty, and I saw Cindy on there. Well, welcome everybody. And
we should have Mike on. He's cool.
Mike
Thomas.
We are.
He wrote this book.
He's coming now, right here. There he is. Mike, hello.
Hello. How are you guys?
Good. The book is Carson the Magnificent. And Mike, to clarify, because the journey of this book is in itself a book, are you the architect of the book, and is the late writer Bill Zamey the assembler, or is it the other way around? Are you the assembler or the architect? Because why don't you explain how this all came about?
Yeah, no, I'm neither of those. Bill had written about 3/4 of the book before I actually came to it. I just had not read the manuscript. So what happened is his former editor, John Karp, who's now the CEO of Simon & Schuster, reached out to me. Long story short, he came back and asked me if I wanted to take a stab at finishing the book, and he gave me Bill's manuscript. Bill had written about 3/4 of it. Essentially, I had to step in and take Johnny from New York to Burbank. And so I was able to go through all of Bill's piles of Carsonia. It was just overwhelming, and I could easily understand why Bill was overwhelmed. And it took me a while, but I plucked the stuff I needed. There were hundreds of interviews done. There were transcripts of every single Tonight Show, more than I could ever use. And I was able to complete the book, and we finally put it out into the world.
Well, Bill was a dear friend of mine and yours, and the godfather to my daughter. And I had a front row seat as he was going through this odyssey. And I got the impression, because this started when he was young, where he got fixated on the Tonight Show and Johnny Carson, and then it became a white whale, his white whale. And then I think he got into an orbit where Johnny was the sun and Bill was rotating around the sun, and Bill was a perfectionist, and perfectionists, they have a lot of built-in tripwires, and this thing just kept going and going, and deadlines were missed, and then he got cancer. Yeah. And then it became a real slog because he really couldn't work at all. And then it lied there for a little bit until the publisher got a hold of you and said, listen, why let this go to waste? Let's get it out there. And that's what you have done. And the Johnny Carson story, I mean, we all, of the people that watched him, it's hard to believe he's been dead 20 years. There's a generation that probably doesn't even know who he is.
No, I think you're right. I mean, maybe they've seen little clips here and there on the internet, but Johnny, there's a vestige of Johnny in everybody who does late night today. I mean, obviously David Letterman was his closest acolyte, but there were guys who came after Letterman. There's Colbert and Kimmel and Fallon, and Conan, of course. All those guys took a cue from Carson. And so even if he's not at the forefront of people's minds, he's still there somewhere in late night.
So we see the guy night after night, and we think, well, we know him, right? Because he's spending time with us for an hour. It was originally 90 minutes. Actually, it was an hour and 45 minutes when it first started, and then got chopped to 90 and then chopped to an hour. But then you pull back, not the curtain behind you, but the curtain on his personal life, and wow, quite different.
Yeah,
quite different than that persona we saw on camera.
Yeah, Johnny hid in plain sight. I mean, he would reveal himself in dribs and drabs, like on the show, in the monologues and stuff like that, and a little bit during his guest segments. But Johnny was always kind of a magician, and it was which is apt because magician was really maybe his first love, certainly a close second to television because he started as a magician, but he was able to kind of hide himself in plain sight. Johnny off the screen was less gregarious, more interior, moodier, not the cool cat you saw every night on the Tonight Show.
And an abusive drunk. That's what killed.
Could be.
He was thrice married. Those went down in flames. And his
four times, actually.
Well, thrice married. That went down in flames as a divorce. Yeah. The fourth one was not a divorce because Bill told me that he did not want to have 4 divorces on his resume. So they were just separated for years. When he died, he had been separated, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially. I don't know about legally separated, but they had kind of gone their separate ways toward the end. But yeah, he told people he didn't want to be a 4-time loser. And so they did what they had to do, according to, what I learned.
Some of the stuff that Bill also told me was Johnny had no relationship with his 3 sons.
No, not really. And he always lamented that, but he couldn't really fix it because they had grown older. And, there's a portion in the book where his son Corey kind of weighs in on that and says, no, he was great at what he did, but he wasn't great at family. And Johnny would even admit to that in interviews because the Tonight Show was always his first love. He poured all of his energy and his heart into that. And, Corey said they would watch, Johnny dealing maybe with a child actor who came on the show, and he was rapt by this kid and hanging on his every word. And Corey says, what did that kid have that we didn't have? And of course, it was 10 minutes of material.
Yeah, that's tough. So, that's got to be tough to watch. Your father's on television engaged with some kid, and you're sitting there. I'm the son of this guy. He doesn't talk to me like that.
Not uncommon, though. I mean, but children of famous people, they can feel that shadow looming. Sometimes that shadow is nice. It's a protective shadow, but a lot of times it just creates this separation that it never ends.
That drinking part that I alluded to, the late comedian Richard Belzer was on the show once, and he told the story about, I don't know how he had access to it, but maybe this has been published somewhere, that Sardi's, this famous hangout in New York, still there, was a hot spot for these guys who were in show business and other people in New York. And after the show, Johnny would go there sometimes with Ed, and they would really get a snootful.
Yeah.
And Sinatra was in there one night, and Johnny was drunk to the bejesus belt, and he starts making his way to Frank, and Frank whispered to his bodyguards, "Keep that motherfucker away from me."
I've heard that.
No, wait. Keep that drunk motherfucker away from me.
Yeah. Is that the night Johnny also supposedly hit on a mafia guy's girlfriend or wife?
Oh, was that the night?
I don't know if that was the night or if it was another night. I can't remember.
But also the thing that Bill and I really agreed on a lot was the ring-a-ding-ding of the Rat Pack, that era, which Johnny was part of.
Yeah.
The show, The Tonight Show, started in '62 with him after Jack Parr had left. And that whole Rat Pack thing in the 60s in Vegas, where you were drinking and having a good time and there wasn't a lot of wokeness in the air. Boy, we could use a little bit of that right now.
They had a lot of fun, those guys, back in those days. I mean, it's funny you mentioned Sinatra, though. I think Bill thought that this book was going to be more of a Sinatra treatment than it became, because I had been Bill's research assistant for 3 years, and we did 3 books together, one of which was an homage to Frank Sinatra. And those were fun years, man. I mean, we were out at Jilly's, drinking Jack Daniels and a lot of ring-a-ding-ding. And it was kind of an easy breezy treatment because Frank was such an exterior guy. He wore his heart on his sleeve. He said what he thought. Johnny was a very interior man, and as a result, Bill had a lot of difficulty mining the details he needed to figure out who Johnny really was and what drove him.
The other moment that Bill told me about was when Johnny's son died in that car accident. And oddly enough, I told this on our show this week, when Johnny came back after the funeral and everything, it happened to be the night where I had just come back from the hospital because my father had a heart attack earlier that day. So God. I got home and I turned on Johnny, as we all did, for some comfort. And at the end of that particular show, his son was a photographer, so he showed a number of his son's photos and did this homage to him. And apparently, Freddie DeCordova, the producer, was doing the wrap-up thing off to the side to Johnny.
Yeah.
You know this story.
Well, I do. Yeah, I think, Fred got the sign from the director that it was time to wrap up, and it was just really poor timing. I mean, Johnny did not pour his heart out on that show. He was not a guy to wear his heart on his sleeve, and that was a very emotional sort of outpouring that he was doing, for his son Rick, who was closest to him in the sense that he was most like Johnny. He had Johnny's sense of humor, and Johnny's sensibilities, and Johnny was doing this heartfelt thing, and Freddie gave him this wrap-up sign. You could see Carson glance off into the wings, and he was pissed after that, and they had a major falling out. I think they mended fences toward the very end of Freddie's life, but that was not a good moment.
Yeah. And the other thing that Bill told me, and again, I'm about halfway through the book. Here's where I just left off today, Mike, where Johnny, he hitchhiked to Hollywood from Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
Hitchhiked. That's how he got to Hollywood.
At 17.
At 17. And he...
From Nebraska to Hollywood, yeah.
Nebraska to Hollywood. And he, as you mentioned, was very much into magic. And he saw that Orson Welles, also a magician, was doing some performances. So he goes to see Orson Welles do his magic, and Orson needs a volunteer to cut in half. And Johnny is the volunteer. He raises his hand. He's not Johnny Carson that we know. He's just a guy from Nebraska. And Orson cut him in half.
Yeah, but how great is that? And then, you can watch Orson on his show in later years.
Well, that's always it when worlds collide, where you're just some guy, oh, maybe I'll get into show business, and now you're the host of a show, you're a huge star, and there's Orson Welles as your guest. And they were talking about that apparently one night on the show.
Yeah, and Johnny's arguably then a bigger star than Orson Welles.
Yeah, I mean, that's strange stuff. And
yeah, it really is.
Johnny's mother was not the easiest person to get along with. In fact, pretty much treated him like dog shit most of the time, right?
Well, she did. She was very dismissive. And, Johnny would come up as a kid, and he loved magic, and he was obsessed with it. And all it did was annoy her, because he was always asking them to watch tricks and, hey, look at how I do this.
Yeah, pick a card.
Pick a card, all that stuff. But he loved that sleight of hand. He loved learning new skills, hanging around magicians. He loved that throughout his whole life. But even as he became super famous, she was nonplussed, I think is the word, by his his fame and his fortune, and nothing was ever quite good enough. So I don't know, what are you going to do? But it's funny, after he died, it was discovered that in his closet he had kept this box inside of which there was this scrapbook that his mother, Ruth Carson, had kept of a lot of his clippings from newspapers. People would send them to her around the country. Clip Service would send them to her. And so, I think in a way she was proud. She just couldn't tell him that she was proud of him. It very strange.
And I remember him saying, either in an article or on the show, that he was given an award by the governor of California. And when he called his mother to tell her this, she said, well, I guess they know what they're doing.
Exactly. Wow. Right.
Wow. Okay.
You just want a little bit. Hey, way to go, son.
Yeah. Yeah.
That goes a long way.
Yeah. So what are some of the other moments in the book that you'd like to highlight? There's so much to talk about, but I'll have people read those moments aside from what you're going to tell us.
Yeah, I mean, man, there's so many moments. Just I love the fact that he was so nervous before his first show in 1962. There had been this cavalcade of guest hosts going before him because he couldn't contractually start right away, and his second wife talks about that. Of course, there is some of the darker stuff in there about his, his drinking and his, he would become volatile, and it was fairly scary at times. But I love the retired Johnny too, and that's something that Bill wrote about so eloquently in Esquire and expounds on in the book. Once he quit the show, man. He just loved hanging out on his yachts. He loved playing poker with Steve Martin and Carl Reiner and Neil Simon and a bunch of other guys. He would go out to dinner. He would go to movies. I mean, it seems like he had a great time. Played tennis during his retirement. There was a time when he thought, maybe I'll try to come back. They did a 1994 comeback special. It didn't make it past the first draft because he didn't have anything to prove. And so he just stayed retired. And he was the best retired guy in the world, it seems to me.
Yeah, unfortunately for Bill, because he was the most unavailable person, if you needed to get some direct interview, you weren't going to get it that easily. Bill did really one sit down with him at a restaurant, right, in California. Yeah. I think that's the only time.
That's the only time. I mean, Bill had been stopping into Carson's retirement offices in Santa Monica for years before that, and he would get to know the staff, and he once in a while would run into Johnny for a couple of minutes in the hall. They'd have small talk. But that time he came back in early 2002, for an interview with Johnny. You just never know how Johnny's going to feel at the moment. And Johnny all of a sudden says, hey, why don't we grab some lunch? And so they go next door to Arnold Schwarzenegger's restaurant. It was called Shotzi on Main. And they had just a nice leisurely few-hour lunch where Carson answered any question Bill had. But Bill played the long game. I mean, he started pursuing Johnny in 91 while he was still at Rolling Stone magazine.
Yeah, he was like being there. He was Chauncey Gardner. I like to watch. And it just became this really.
I love that book.
It was him climbing Everest. When he got to the top, he thought, and I think he didn't want to finish the book when he got sick because that was his lifeboat. And if I get to the top of Everest, well, now I just go down. There's nothing there. It seemed like that was the case.
Possibly.
Here's the strange thing where I wonder if it's this. This could be a very one-off concept, but when you hear this concept where when women live together, their periods sync up. I think that Bill, Sammy, and Johnny, he got in sync with Johnny's unavailability because all of us that knew him as the years went on right before he died, it got tougher and tougher to communicate with him.
Interesting, because there is a point in the book where Bill, I think I included this, he's emailing one of Johnny's writers and he says, I think I've absorbed Johnny's sort of depressive personality as well as his sort of penchant for hiding in plain sight. And Bill would absorb characteristics of whoever he wrote about, whether it was Frank Sinatra or Johnny Carson or Andy Kaufman, which was maybe the most bizarre period of our work together because Andy was so odd, so wonderfully odd, but he was very unlike Frank. So, yeah, I think you've got a good point there.
One of Johnny's wives had an affair with Frank Gifford. Is that confirmed?
Apparently so. I mean, I didn't really get into that. That's in Henry Bushkin's book. That was
his lawyer, which is weird. When a lawyer writes a book about a client, isn't that?
I don't know. They had a major falling out. I don't know.
Still, ethically, that seems really skeevy.
People seem to like it. It's a far different book than this book. It's inside trashy stories. I don't personally know how it was fact checked. So I can't really say much about it.
So only Johnny's last wife is still alive?
Joanna is still alive, living in California. Yeah.
Wait, sure. No. I'm saying the last one is.
Wife. Oh, his third wife and last wife. So yes.
Joanna's really? Okay. Alive, so two are still alive.
And two are still alive. Yeah. And Alex,
right,
is still alive. Yeah.
Okay. I did hear from Bill that on the last day of his life, Johnny was gasping for air at 3 a.m. and was living alone at that time and didn't want to disturb the housekeeper. So waited till 6 a.m. before he got a hold of her to get him to the hospital. And then it was too late.
I never found that in the transcripts. I wish I had talked to you
Bill
about
told
this.
me that. Yeah, really.
And that's I never found that from anybody who talked.
I was, Mike, I'm sitting there thinking this is the king of late night. At the peak, he had 17.
But he was alone. Yeah,
he was living alone at that point.
Well, living with people who were not close to him. I mean, there was like the housekeeper,
right? But that's what I mean.
He's surrounded by a lot of kind of strange people.
Okay, but you're the king of late night, and we think of all the glamour and money, and it must be the greatest life. And then you're gasping for air. All those cigarettes that we saw him smoking on camera finally caught up with him.
Yeah, those damn cigarettes. He would always lament them. He would try to quit. He cut down. I think he cut down after Ricky died. His son died. But, it always came back. And his parents smoked too. So they had heart and lung related diseases.
Yeah. 79 years old.
79.
In today's world, that's not ancient.
It's not. No. I mean, he certainly lived a full life. But yeah, toward the end there, he was pretty isolated and not in good health at all. But he was a guy. He was a Nebraska guy, Midwestern guy. He didn't want to bother or burden people. His executive assistant even offered to quit her job and come and live by him to help him more, and he declined that. I'm sure he loved hearing it, but he just didn't have a lot of people around during those waning days. And they'd try. His brother would try. His tennis coach, Graham Kay, would try, and they would get a hold of him on the phone, but he just didn't want to bother people.
At the peak of his reign on The Tonight Show, I believe they had 17 million viewers. This is a show that aired at 11:30 Eastern. And now these late night shows, now I know he was on mostly without cable and any competition.
Right.
These late night shows now, if they get 3 million, now they're spread out because there are 3 or 4, then there was only 1 when he was on. But if they get 3 million viewers, that's a lot.
That's a ton. Yeah. I think Colbert is still the top rated show, but I think it's about, I don't know, a little over 10% of what Johnny got at his peak in the late 70s, early 80s. It's pretty impressive. And a lot of power came along with that to influence public discourse and everything else. And of course, the ad revenues just poured in. He was making up to 20% of NBC's profits at one point. So he was their golden goose.
My first trip to New York, first time on an airplane, first trip to New York, my aunt was working for David Frost, so she got me tickets to go see Johnny at the NBC Rockefeller Center. And I mean, really, I could not have, I thought I was in Oz because it's New York when you go there for the first time. And here's this big TV show. And Bill Cosby did a walk-on that night.
How great.
Like, wow. Okay.
How fantastic. This was pre 72, obviously.
This was 1969. And
gotcha.
Ed came out to warm up the audience, and he said, this show makes NBC, and you keep this in the 69 realm, $40 million a year in 69. So, and it just went up and up and up from there.
It did. Yeah. Nobody could touch him. I mean, Dick Cavett couldn't touch him. I mean, nobody who tried even came anywhere close to Johnny Carson. It wasn't really until, the late 80s that the decline kind of started because there was new blood, especially Arsenio Hall. And by then, David Letterman, too, was getting a much bigger audience. He's on at a different time, but, billboards of Arsenio start going up on Sunset, and there's this kind of a rivalry, even though Arsenio downplayed it. But he wanted the sons and daughters of Johnny's viewers, and so that's who he was going after. But he was the new kid in town. And
that story about Joan Rivers, who was a guest host, and then she got her own show, but she didn't tell Johnny, and that pissed him off, right?
Yeah, Johnny didn't like what he perceived as disloyalty, and she had made a big name for herself on his show as a guest host, and she didn't tell him. She was going head to head with him, and he just cut her off. Period.
No. Well, for those of us who grew up with that show, it's a moment in time where no matter what show has come along since, it's not that, as there will never be that same atmosphere, I understand, but it just felt different all the way around, and how we went about our day and how we went about our lives in this country.
I think so too. And this is probably cliche to say by now, but it's this one of these communal experiences that you don't get anymore, except for maybe the Taylor Swift show or something like that.
Yeah, okay. All right. I'll see you at the Taylor Swift show. I'll be there. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody gathered around the TV at the same time, and then everybody talked about it the next morning.
Okay. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones. I know we sound 1,000 years old, but I'll tell you what, I'm glad I had that to live through, because it was something to experience. This, I don't know what this is now.
It's very fragmented. Everything is very fragmented these days. I do like the fact that stuff is a little more democratized, but it's all asynchronous. I mean, everybody can find their own niche, but you don't have a common language anymore. So I think there's pluses and minuses to that.
All right. Well, the book is Carson the Magnificent is on the bestsellers list as of this week.
Just hit it.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, as of last week. So,
well, I had, like I said, a front row seat, so I'm so glad this came out, because it was quite the odyssey for Bill, and I'm sure he'd be happy that it is out finally.
I think so. It's certainly not probably how he would have finished it, but it's finished, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud to honor my friend. So it's finally out there.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Gary. I appreciate it. Great talking to you.
Mike Thomas.
Wait, before he goes. Yeah, we have been getting questions from the viewers along the way. One that has popped up a couple of times, questions about Doc Severinsen. Have you talked to him? 97 years old, still kicking.
He's still kicking.
Involved in any of this?
Sure. Bill talked to him a lot, but I did very little original reporting for this because Bill had done so much, and also I'm something of an interloper coming into this. Bill had spent years gaining the trust of people who talk for this book, but he talked with Doc extensively. The favorite thing I found related to Doc Severinsen is this large pink check that Johnny had written to Doc, I think sometime in the 70s, for $1,500. I have no idea what it's for, and I have no idea how it ended up in Bill's collection, along with all of his other stuff. So
a pink check?
A big pink check from Johnny to Doc.
Oh,
yeah.
So he physically had this thing. Okay.
He had this. Bill had checks and Johnny Carson apparel and accounting records and divorce settlements. He had everything. FBI records, just crazy piles of stuff.
FBI records.
Yeah, Johnny got a lot of threats. So there's a huge binder full of all these crazy notes that Johnny would get from these people.
Wow, and he was political, but it wasn't the politics of today, so I don't understand.
No, and they kept rolling in, like even past his retirement, he'd get stuff at the office. But they'd come into this night office. Sometimes they'd alert the authorities. It was fun to read some of these. It's like I need whatever $50,000 in unmarked $100 bills, or I will kill you. It's crazy stuff.
Hey-oh.
Yeah.
How about copies of the jokes he was sending to Letterman in the last year of his life?
That was another question. Yeah.
Yeah. You mean, do I have originals of those?
Have you seen those? Were those in Bill's collection as well?
No, I there's handwritten notes from Johnny, from Friars roasts, I believe, and stuff like that. I didn't see any original stuff from the Letterman jokes, but yeah, that was fun. He would just kind of call them in or fax them into Letterman, and then of course he did the New Yorker stuff, a little bit of that too. But it was just kind of dipping his toe in. Johnny didn't do anything major in retirement. I think he was just enjoying that.
Well, I agree with that philosophy of either retire or don't. You can't kind of retire. You're either retired or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And he did. Of course, he had lots of money to really enjoy himself and do whatever he wanted, sail around the world, go on safaris in Africa. I mean, play lots of tennis.
And he left the bulk of his fortune to a university in Nebraska.
No, he left $156 million to the John W. Carson Foundation. Yeah, I mean, he was a huge giver to all kinds of charities, including his former university and his high school and all kinds of other quieter giving. He was worth a lot more than that, from what I understand, at the end of his life. So no, the entire fortune didn't go to the foundation.
Okay.
Now, you two obviously friends with Bill Zamy, and if you don't mind, can we take just a moment to point out this guy that they're talking about, who was so subtle and was able to weave his way into, incredibly famous people's lives, was, in the times that I met him, one of the most laid back, quiet, subtle guys. Mind you, though, he was what, 6'4", 6'5"?
He was 6'5".
So this isn't somebody who could just sneak into a room necessarily.
No, I remember when I first met him, I didn't even know what he looked like. It was the 90s before the internet. And I said, oh, I thought I didn't know you'd be so tall. Stupid thing to say. And he said, yes, I'm 8'11".
Yeah.
So, but yes, he was, Bill was a very Midwestern guy, very polite, always made everybody feel like they were his best friend. And I think that's part of the allure for a lot of these larger than life celebrities. He was very subtle, and he always had conversations. It was never an interrogation. If there's one thing I learned from his interviews, it's that you can't just like pepper people with questions. You have to know everything about them and kind of nudge them in different directions, but it has to be a natural conversation. And so you're right. Everybody from Warren Beatty to Sharon Stone to Jerry Seinfeld sat with him and divulged stuff
opened up.
Open up. They would not have told anybody else, but he got it.
The only taste we got of the Rat Pack was we went to Vegas to see Jerry Lewis and Sammy Davis together on stage. And boy, that was psychedelic because
must have been.
Jerry could not stand. You could tell Jerry couldn't stand that Sammy had any talent. So anytime Sammy would come out to sing, Jerry would get on a bicycle and then ride it out to the audience to distract everybody from Sammy. It was psycho.
When was this?
30 some years ago.
So in the 90s, probably, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's when Bill brought me back a mug from the Sands before they destroyed it. I wonder if that was the same trip.
One more thing. Bill was obsessed with Dean Martin. And Bill, when he was living in L.A., he would go to Dean went to the same restaurant every night.
Yeah.
And Bill would go there almost every night just to see Dean come in. And on the last time that Dean went to this restaurant, Bill asked the bartender for Dean's glass. And
I remember that.
He gave him the glass that Dean had.
Was it Da Vinci or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Name. But Bill also brought Regis Philbin there, who was an even bigger Dean fan. And they just went to watch him eat. And they would play Dean's music over the radio.
Yeah, okay.
What a guy.
That's great. I love him. Bill was one of a kind.
Oh, yeah. We spent a lot of incredible moments together.
Us too. I miss him a lot.
Yeah. Okay. We could go on all night, but let's have people buy the book and get into all the other stories.
Please.
There
That'd be great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, all. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
You can see my tequila.
And you can always come back, too.
He's got tequila. All right.
What
it's
a great
show. Stocking stuffer, that book.
Tequila Blanca. Yes, please. Yeah, big stocking. You need a big stocking, but it's a good one.
All right.
So thanks very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Nice talking to you, Leslie, Gary. Thank you.
All right.
Likewise.
Okay.
All right. We're going to have to notify the affiliates if we don't move along here because I have a little conversation with Lori Kane from Tree Time coming up. And we want to take care of the sponsors, right, Alan? You want to do Bettenhausen now? And
Everything Christmas, treetime.com.
You're pacing. You're doing okay.
Well, when there's an interview, I try, Murray.
You try to,
right.
Post. You don't get schnockered till later when you go out to the rock, take off your shoes, and cry.
Yes.
That's beside the point.
That's it. All right, Bettenhausen Automotive, Alan.
Get an additional $500 Black Friday bonus cash now at Bettenhausen Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram in Tinley Park. During the Black Friday sales event, hurry in and save $13,500 off a new 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Save $9,500 off a new Jeep Wrangler. Get a new Jeep Compass for only $239 a month. Delivered with no hassle, no haggle, and a no salespeople buying experience. Showroom never closes at BettenhausenCDJR.com.
Yes, and David Hochberg will guide you through mortgages, refis, and everything with a free consultation to start. Can't beat that. There's the number. And he has been doing this a long time. He's a great guy. He likes saving people money. All right.
We like having our money saved. That's a nice thing.
We're going to set up the giveaway now so we can talk to Lori. Leslie, you want to show what you have?
Oh, I do. Well, I gave you a little peek of some of what I got going on, including that Oh Yes t-shirt. And they're going to be playing in Arlington Heights tonight. You should check that out. In addition to the t-shirt, they always give us bracelets, Oh Yes bracelets, and a guitar pick. This week featuring Matt Publicus, who is the lead singer of Oh Yes. So there you go with that. What else do we have? Oh, Tracy from Wisconsin. Okay, so this is the penultimate Slinky that we'll be giving away. Only one left, but thank you, Tracy. And it's heavy. So these gift packages are a little tighter, but they're chock full because of that. Tracy is also the one who gives us ball liquors, and we have an assortment of bendables now. Look at those cutie pies. Oh my goodness.
They're good to have in your hand if you need something to squeeze.
Yeah, and they, well, it right there in the name, and they bend. Crazy. What else do we have? Oh, our friends at Buddy Bear Car Wash, the people who provide us with music for the shows, have given us dashboard wipes and static cloth so you can keep your car all purty. We've got the disco bulbs or cubes for your glasses. If you so I don't send them with the instructions. They're fun to use in drinks that are not boiling. Do not put these in your hot cocoa over the holidays. Warn you about that. Well, Scott from Scott's Vintage Antiques and Collectibles gives us fortune-telling fish. I'm giving you two, one for you and one to share with somebody at the holidays here so you can tell them about the podcast. And let's see. I think it was Scott also who gave us these cool lucky tokens from Riverview Amusement Park. Gary was talking all about that in the pre-show. And what a insensitive place it was culturally. Based
back in the day, we didn't know woke or politically correct, and we had a good time.
So I was gonna say that our hashtag should be Here's Johnny, but I didn't know if the apostrophe would throw you off. I was just going to go with Carson, but I kind of like the hashtag Here's Johnny even better.
All right. Should we do
we'll
it
leave it up to Alan? Alan,
how do you want to hashtag Carson?
Yeah, the apostrophe causes problems.
There you go. I thought it might. So with that, speaking of Alan, he's our refrigerator magnet daddy. He's the guy who got that. Yeah, there it is. Season 5. I'm a magnet winner. And the prize that started it all, your very own wine condom.
Hashtag Carson. Simply hashtag Carson. Put it in the queue and the computer will pick the winner. Let's talk to Ryan first because we're going to get really backed up. And this man has been sitting there waiting to do something. What do you got, Ryan?
Hey, I'm still married after last week, but probably won't be after this week after I show you a couple pictures. But
wow,
birthday was good.
Oh,
he's our Johnny.
On?
Ryan is our Johnny Carson. Yeah. What pictures?
Here, look. So I'll go through the ones. Do you want to save this one, Leslie? Or
I do have. Well, we don't have to follow. Look at us. We can break format. Let me tell you about this story. What do we always say about lawbreakers? If only they would steer their business acumen into, positive effort, they'd be amazing. Well, there's some real artistry going on right here with this viral video or viral story, rather, out of the Netherlands. Police there intercepted and seized a large quantity of drugs, including this adorable garden gnome made entirely of MDMA, a drug more commonly referred to as ecstasy or Molly. In a post on social media, police say, quote, "We know that drugs come in many shapes and sizes, but every now and again we come across something extraordinary." They indicate that they were quite surprised to make this discovery and that the gnome himself appeared to be visibly shocked as well.
Is it where you break a piece off and eat it like a chocolate bunny or something?
You go to the club, I guess. Like, where do you
take
start?
the gnome with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you doing with the gnome? Yeah. Just snap off an ear.
Okay. I got
what else you got?
Yeah, it's soup
Gary's
season.
favorite season.
This is it's soup season. That's my soup for the holidays and beyond. Yeah.
Okay.
And
there's Thanksgiving dinner if you don't want to.
You got to clear. Thanksgiving dinner in a can. That's what it looks like. And that's where you're going to be after you eat that.
But I bet you that leftover, if you were to slice it, I don't know. Okay.
First. Okay.
Never mind.
What else?
This was
all right. A listener sent me this. You think our shrinking daylight is depressing? If you can read that, somebody, the sun will set in whatever town that is.
I don't
Alaska.
know what that is, but I think Barrow is one of those as well.
Yeah.
They will have 65 days without a sunrise. They won't see the sun again until January 22nd, 2025.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll take our shrinking daylight. At least we have
Absolutely. As Leslie hinted last week, there's the birthday gifts.
Now you were promised T-shirts and underwear. You only got T-shirts.
Well, Henry didn't have it correct that she didn't buy the underwear, so I just got the T-shirts. So I'm pretty sure that's what I got for Christmas
one this
too.
week, right? You put
yes,
one of them.
I got it on right now here.
Oh,
so,
nice! Oh, very nice.
Okay,
just
what I need.
And you went to,
I did go by. And I did go by myself.
You went to on your birthday. You went to a supper club in Wisconsin by yourself, and you said you sat in the corner and had a pile of candied bacon.
Yes, I sat right by the end of the buffet with the candied bacon.
Oh man!
And is that biscuits and gravy?
It is biscuits and gravy.
Taters.
Yep,
what's the other brown
sausage
splotch off at 9:00?
Sausage patty.
Oh.
Yeah. So there it is. It's a true Wisconsin supper club. So I drove my hour and a half by myself, ate, and was back by 1:00.
How many times did you go through the bar?
Oh, the salad bar 3.
Yeah.
So,
it's your birthday. Damn straight.
My birthday.
Was anybody else
new T-shirts?
Was anybody else sitting alone? No. Oh God.
But I'm okay. I mean,
sure
I
you are
on the road that I can go by myself. So it was my birthday. I didn't tell him that.
To me.
So,
all right.
There you go.
All right.
I'm taking Ryan out for dinner on Saturday.
Yeah.
I have one more of a serious note. Yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of the Waukesha Parade tragedy, and they have the new park that they opened with a memorial, and then people could go make these tiles. So Henry made a tile. That isn't his tile, but we have to go find his tile. So there was a ceremony yesterday commemorating the 3-year anniversary, and now that they have the memorial open.
And if people don't remember, you were there with your wife and son, and somebody drove through the parade route, killed how many people?
I think 6, and had Jamie pulled Henry out of the way, seconds before they would have gotten hit. So, yeah, it's not a. So sorry to bring that down, but it's how quick time goes. 3 years, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Brian.
Oh, see you later.
All right. We're going to talk to Lori Kane from Tree Time. I don't know if you'll have time to do your stories, Leslie. Can you hold them till Monday?
I did one, and then if nothing else, what we don't use today, those
On
of
Monday.
you who listen to Monday's show, we'll get some fun stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's talk to Lori Kane. Thank God, and I mean that literally, that God has his son's birthday in December, because by the end of the year, we need an elixir to make ourselves feel good about the previous 11 months, no matter what's happened. And boy, this year was a doozy, huh? Adding to that elixir is my good friend Lori Kane from Tree Time in Lake Barrington, Illinois. She's going to make everybody feel good that goes into that showroom or orders online. Lori, welcome to the GarrForce.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gary. Love listening to you.
Oh, hey, Lori, we go way back, and we first met each other when I was working at a radio station where, as you know, they had this studio on Michigan Avenue, a busy thoroughfare in Chicago, and we're heading towards the holidays, and I believe you and your husband, Joe, had just started advertising, and I said, wait a minute, can Joe and Lori come and decorate this studio? Because a lot of people walk by. You came down, and that was a magical place to be for those 5-6 weeks. Everybody that walked by loved it. and it made me feel good. I thought I was sitting in a Hallmark movie card, and you now have all that beautiful scenery behind you, and people are enjoying coming in, looking at that, buying those trees and ornaments. How have you been?
We've been great. So we've had everyone's just kind of getting in the holiday spirit here, and we have been working all year very hard to get our showroom set up. So when people come in, they just feel like, wow, I'm in the Christmas spirit, and this is their happy Christmas place. So that's really our goal.
And those artificial trees, they're the best in the USA. We have 2 of them. Every time people come over, when they're in the living room, wherever we put them, hey, where did you get that real tree? And I look at them and go, I got it at Tree Time. It's not real. It looks real. And that's what you want. You want a tree that doesn't look artificial. And you have found these trees that look like they just came out of the forest. Let me tell you this, Lori, and I think I told you this years ago. Here's how I started into the artificial tree ownership. Years ago, before I met you and Joe, my wife and our daughter, we decided, we're going to go and cut down a tree this year. So we go to this place, and as soon as that tree, we go out in this little forest area, it's bitter cold. As soon as that tree hit the ground, I was depressed during the whole holiday season because I thought it's the same way I felt when we had the sticky mouse trap and I caught a mouse. I can't kill things, and I don't want to kill things. I decided that was the end of that, and thank God I met you and Joe right after. We got our trees, and we're very happy. So thank you for that moment and wiping out that ugly thought of killing something, if that is something you can identify with.
Well, that's actually what kind of keeps us going, is thinking of our customers, having great holiday moments, making them happy. And with their artificial tree, they can set it up earlier, keep it up longer. They don't have to clean up the mess. So we hope it makes their holidays happier and a little bit easier too, maybe.
Well, yes, I have stated this on my show many times, where you're driving down the expressway in late August and you see a flatbed truck with freshly cut Christmas trees. And I'm thinking, it's August. You're going to get it in about 2 months. You take it home and you tap it before you put it in the stand, and about 5,000 needles fall to the ground. You don't need that. No, go to Tree Time. You've got trees, you've got ornaments, and what else are you telling people to look at in your showroom?
Okay, so we have, like you were saying, we design our own artificial Christmas trees to try to make them really realistic. We do the light counts, we do the colors, we do the tips. So we want to make them really realistic. But we also do wreaths and garlands, and we have all the trim that you could ever want. And what we're doing this year too, or we've been doing, is we really want to help you be able to take the ideas home to your house. So we are in our showroom, we inspire you with all sorts of tips and tricks and little things that you can do without being a designer to kind of make you feel happy about how your tree is decorated. So we have the designers and all the stuff you would need to make yourself have a tree that kind of looks like those ones in the catalogs.
Yeah, that's something that you have that a lot of people don't. People that will help you put together what it would look like at your house.
Right. And we're about to start buying for next year, which I know is really crazy, but we actually start at the beginning of December. And when we're out there buying, that's actually one of the things we think most about, is how can we show people easy ways to implement it? Because we really believe it does you more good to be able to do it yourself than to just be able to look at it here. So we think about that every day. So
plus the small business owner, that's the backbone of America, and that's what you and Joe are, and you're competing against these big box stores. But you go in there, and good luck trying to find somebody that works there, number one. And it's not the same. And I like having people that care about you as the customer, and that's what you do at Tree Time. And again, they'll help you arrange things. If you need some kind of guidance on what your house looks like or you want it to look like during the holidays, that's at Tree Time. And congratulations for the years of providing this happiness at this time of the year.
Thank you. It's our pleasure. Yeah. And what we kind of learned through these years is buying a Christmas tree is often an emotional experience. A lot of people are buying a Christmas tree to commemorate a life event. Maybe they just got married, maybe they have a new house, or maybe they're downsizing. Like sometimes they can be happy events, sometimes they can be more challenging events. So we like to think that we're here to kind of help you through that and really get the Christmas tree that makes you feel happy and feel like there's Christmas in your house.
And Tree Time, if you're in the Midwest, They're on Pepper Road in Lake Barrington, Illinois. But if you don't live in that particular section of the country, go to the website treetime.com and you will ship, right?
Yep, we ship all over the U.S. So we'd love to send you one of our trees.
Yes, and you will not be disappointed. Like I said, I've known Lori and Joe for many years, and really enjoy going into the showroom. And their people are so nice. When hey, here's something. When I call Tree Time, an actual person answers the phone very quickly. Once you go through the menu of, okay, you want to talk to somebody, hit 0, boom, a real person within a couple minutes. I love it. Lori, congratulations on all your success and happiness that you bring to people. And Merry, Happy Christmas, New Year, all that.
Thank you, Gary. We wish you and your family a happy holidays, and all your listeners too. Thank you.
Everything Christmas, treetime.com.
Leslie, my sister-in-law doesn't live anywhere near Illinois. She ordered a Tree Time Christmas tree 2 days ago. I got a text before the show. Got my tree. Huh?
Isn't that awesome?
That's the way life should be. Huh?
You know what? I think I'm going to head up there next week just to mosey around for an hour or so, because there's so many ideas, so many motifs that you can pick from. And they're nice people besides.
Yeah, I love them. Thanks to Lori and Joe for coming back this season. All right, what do you want to do here?
Well, we are so past the top of the hour. You heard the tone.
I heard the tone. We did news, traffic, weather, and sports during that conversation.
Yeah, we got it all done. You don't have to worry about it. I think it's just time for the giveaway. Hashtag Carson. Once again, if you have won recently, we always ask that you just sit back for a second, let somebody else get a chance. But golly, it's a fun little thing that we've set up here. Last minute, if you haven't joined, hashtag Carson, get a t-shirt, get a slinky.
Get a fortune.
Cool. Oh, the fortune. Not one, but 2 fortune-telling fish. So you can bring it to Thanksgiving dinner. Oh.
Ryan, are we ready? Alan?
Ryan's not running it, Gary. I am.
You two have the similar names. It's like Craig and Greg. I get confused at this hour.
Somebody else was talking about, is it Alan and Mike sounding very similar tonight? I don't know. There were some sort of voice comparisons.
I'm going to blame somebody on the Manhattan.
We can do that. But once again,
all right, Alan, here we go.
Do not drive.
Got nowhere to go. All right, who's going to win all that stuff? Pre-Thanksgiving. It's 525 lines.
Wow, you are a mystery, 525 lines, but you are a big winner as well.
Alan, tell 525 what they should do.
525, send your actual name and USPS mailing address to Gary Meyer Show at GaryMeyer.com or text it to 773-888-2157. Regular charges apply. And Leslie will go down to the post office and add it to their holiday fun collection so that it comes to you eventually. Or if you happen to be somewhere Leslie frequents, she'll hand deliver it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a couple minutes away at Blue Village Vinyl in Westmont, Illinois, like Andy was, then I'll drop it off. But that's not always going to happen. But look at all these fabulous prices.
And that's it for this week. We'll talk to you on Monday. Here comes the cannoli down the aisle. It's complimentary and delicious. Please take it. What about the schnauzer, Leslie?
Here's your schnauzer.
Okay. 3 in the green, gear is down, flaps are down. The voice of the globe, America's podcast. We've landed.
And that's all the news and nonsense for this week, GarrForce. Thank you for streaming.
If you like that, I got other stuff I think you're going to like. This is the GarrForce.
Please be sure to like and share the show on all of your social networks.
More eyeballs.
If you're not already a subscriber, show your support by subscribing to GarrForceLIVE YouTube channel. For those watching a replay, that button is right here. All the rest of our episodes, right here.
Boom.
Hello?
Shakalaka.
Did you click something?